Hello, back again with another live, well-balanced series, episode number 5. Today we have a special guest. I'm actually talking, I don't know why I'm talking in plural. I'm talking to Sam, who graduated with us back in April of this year. So she was sweet enough to hop on to kind of explain her journey a little bit more, what motivated her to do the program, how she's doing now, what things she really took from the program and are implementing into her life at this moment. And so we're just going to wait for her to hop on, but at any point if you guys want to reference these, they are in the IGTV. So if you go to our Instagram, you'll notice a little TV button at the top. You can click that and all of the previous episodes will be listed there for you to reference back to. Really great practitioners and people that we've interacted with. But then you also can reference back and save it and all that. And if you have anyone that you recommend to get in touch with, let me know too. So, all right, it looks like she joined, so let me just go ahead and maybe that's why. I think I invited the wrong one. There you are.
Hi.
You're not even, wow, wearing AirPods and you can't even hear me. I just realized that I'm not talking through them. It's not worth it. All right, taking these out. Sorry, I didn't know if it was going to be your personal account or if it was going to be your...
I just, whatever one is usually on is whatever I use typically.
It's okay.
I will post stuff and then I'm like, oh, darn, wrong account. I just am bad about switching between them, so.
That's all right. I do that too. So I was like, wait, because I forgot the name of it, and then yeah. Anyways, so I was just kind of briefing the audience on who you are and kind of what our conversation is about. So again, for those listening, this is Sam. She graduated with us earlier this year, and she was gracious enough to talk to y'all about everything and just kind of see what her journey was like. And so, Sam, tell me a little more just about, tell the audience your story as a professional, as, a wife, all those kinds of things, where you're from, where you live now, and then kind of what inspired you, what kind of was that triggering moment for you to join our program?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am Samantha or Sam, whichever people call me. I grew up in Georgia. I'm the youngest of 4. I moved to Atlanta in 2015 and started my professional career in IT as a software developer. It was a job I hated. I moved to a new city. I had a job I didn't enjoy. I did it for 4 years and it just was very draining. I was unhappy, just kind of lost all motivation to do a lot of things in life, just in general. So in 2019, I swapped jobs and I started pursuing something I'm a little more passionate about, and I became a mortgage lender in the real estate industry. And if you've kept up with it in the past 2 years, you know how insane it has been. Super stressful, lots of changes. And so after, the job change in 2019, COVID hitting in 2020, life was just a whirlwind for everybody. And for me, I just had a lot of changes. I was getting married last year. We had to cancel our wedding. We ended up eloping. So for me, it just kind of turned into one of those things where I needed something to get me back on track after spending 2 years in just a super stressful situation. I kind of let my eating and my health habits go by the wayside. And so when I come across the program, it was just something that was very intriguing to me as far as helping you get back on track on the health and fitness side of things, the healthy eating side of things, but also partnering that with the mindset and the therapy side and just getting you in a position where, because that all kind of interacts together. And so having that therapy part where it helps get you in the right mindset to focus on that healthy lifestyle and do that stress management so that you do want to go work out and you do want to eat healthy and it all implement together was just a big thing for me.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think that's first why Jess and I do the program, is to implement all those elements. And I think a lot of the times people don't draw that connection. Right? They tend to just prioritize nutrition just fitness, and the mental health can get neglected. So I think it's definitely really important and something that we try to prioritize specifically in the program for that well approach. When you were in the program versus kind of how do you feel like you maybe had some bias, but some things that made you hesitant about seeing the value with it, and then when you kind of got through the mental health component, when you kind of graduated, like what were your goals going into the program versus where you ended up graduating?
Okay, so I only caught bits and pieces of that question because one of us are really bad.
Can you hear me?
I can, but you're going in and out.
I'm not on my internet. So do you have your Wi-Fi on? Maybe we have to restart.
Okay, it's a lot stronger now.
Okay. So I'm sitting outside, so that's probably not helpful. Okay, I was paused because I was turning it on. Is it better now?
Yes.
Okay. So just initially, people have skepticism whenever they enter any program, right? You're always like, what am I going to get from this? How is it going to benefit me? So what was the kind of thoughts that went through your head initially with that? And then what made you decide to like actually pull that trigger?
Yeah. For one thing, a lot of it just had to do with it being such a small, intimate group. I think, you can always go online and you can buy these standard programs where you print something and you follow it, or, they put you in these massive like Facebook groups and there's thousands of other people. So what really appealed to me was that you guys were both local doing this, that we were going to meet in person, and you were limiting it to the number of people that could attend it. I felt like that was going to help put you in a small group, kind of like, it ultimately was a small group so that everybody's there. Like you're going through that with people that are in similar situations, having those similar struggles, having those same goals in the end result, and then the accountability of that. And so the fact that we were having like weekly check-ins and weekly meetings, it was just like anybody can do that, for a short period of time to at least get you on that right track. And the fact that you guys were so genuine about it. I know we spoke several times before like I committed to it because I was hesitant at first, and I was like, well, I don't know, like this isn't another thing that I just want to do and then fall by the wayside. But I do think it was, extremely beneficial once we got through it and kind of finished through the program, went through all of it, and it's something that I found a lot of value in, more so than I would have found on anything else that's kind of sold to the masses at a time.
Now, for those programs that you have done in the past, is there anything what programs that you've tried that didn't work, that kind of this was different? Because of course the intimacy part of it, but then also the non-diet, that kind of.
Oh yeah, so I'm for sure have always been kind of like a bandwagoner where like you get on and you're really healthy for a few weeks and you're super strict and you're counting macros and you're going to the gym, and then you have those like one day that you fall off and then you just start binge eating and you quit going to the gym and you just kind of give up. So I've done some of those things. I did Whole30, which I really appreciated, and it kind of taught me a lot of like how to pay attention to certain foods, but that's really like restrictive and not something that you can maintain long term. I've done the like just trying to count macros, but for me that's just a little overwhelming. I don't like to measure and weigh every single thing that goes in my mouth, especially if I'm eating some like healthy veggies. Like, do I really need to weigh out what those are just to get to a place that I want to be? So it was just beneficial in that sense of, it wasn't super restrictive. It wasn't like a diet per se, but it's more so teaching you to implement those healthy habits that you can do in your day-to-day and slowly transition to so that it becomes a lifestyle versus just the diet.
Yes, absolutely. Love that. What were so having done the program, we those listening, it's an 8-week program, but we do different curriculum every week. So we talk about typically some sort of nutrition component on my end, and then Jessica has a mental health component that ties in together. And then the fitness program is kind of something that's offered as a resource. It's optional to do, but of course, discuss how to have a healthy relationship with that. So, Sam, on your end, what were some of your favorite topics that you learned about that you maybe like initially went in not expecting to learn, that you really made an impact on?
Yeah. So, I mean, starting out like week 1, maybe week 2, we had kind of discussed like fueling your body and how to properly like build your plate. And of course, you always hear like eat your proteins, eat your fats, eat your carbs, like the healthy like macro component of things. But one thing that I like implemented and kept was like the Fab Four, and just kind of focusing on that for every meal. Like it's so easy for me to build my plate around a protein, a fat, a green, and a fiber. And so I've like continued to do that, and it just broke it down easier than the whole counting the macros sort of things for me. And then we had discussed that day of like blood sugar and how, you know, the roller coaster ride of what that does when it spikes and then when it bottoms out and how that makes you feel. And for me, like coming from an IT background, like I really like to know like the why and the how behind things, like building it from the ground up. So that really made me more aware of like what I'm putting into my body and making sure that, you know, I'm trying to keep that blood sugar at like a level balance versus doing that up and down. That's a constant thing. And so that's been a major thing that I've realized has changed and has helped with my energy and my day to day of avoiding those things. And then on like the mindset of it, for me, like I obviously have a super stressful job. You know, some days are easy, some days are hard. Sometimes it's a 4-hour day, sometimes it's 12 hours. And I love my job and what I do, but there is like other people are depending on me to do my job. And so it does get super stressful. So a lot of those things that we talked about on the mindset side of it was dealing with stress in my day to day. So now I make sure that even if I just take 20 minutes out of my day to do something for me, like whether that's going for a walk or going to the backyard with my dog or reading 20 minutes in a book like midday, just to make sure that I can reset and ground myself, that's always helpful to me. And then doing that body scan as well is something that we had discussed, and we like actually did that exercise with you guys during one of our sessions of, you know, just sitting there and kind of becoming in tune with like you and like where you're at in that place and like feeling your body and just where you're at. And it just kind of like helps reset. It's kind of like getting up and doing like a 5-minute stretch, or, you know, just something to kind of reground you to where you're at and help manage that stress in your day to day.
Nice. I love that. Yeah. Everything. And the body scan, for those listening, but it's basically just, you know, connecting with each section of your body, press, breathing through that, and it's a cool exercise for bed to kind of wind down. So what was like a myth that you maybe had initially believed before you did the program now we've debunked and you really see that why, such as, you know, fats make you fat, or strength training is bad for you because you're bulky? You know, what was something that you kind of went in always believing because of those diets that now you are like, no, never believe that?
I mean, I've been conscious of those things in the past, so I don't know that there was anything that was like mind blowing of finding, of being like, oh no, that's not true. Like, you know, carbs aren't like, I've always heard like carbs are bad. No, carbs aren't bad. Like I also knew that balance. And I think a lot of doing that Whole30 kind of helped enlighten me on a lot of that. I will say that it's just, there's so much out there resource wise and on the internet that teaches you like, this is what you have to do to lose weight or be healthy or get where you want to be. And for this, it just kind of brought you back to the basics of like, eat your wholesome foods, like do stuff to help relieve stress. Like everything's kind of connected. Like we talked a lot about gut health, as that was something that was important to me and learning about. And so the fact of learning that, you know, how all of that kind of ties in, like your stress can affect like your metabolism and how your body functions, and if you're getting that exercise, if you're getting enough water or not, and just like how your body responds to that. So I'd say that was one of the big learning pieces of just of how all that's connected together, and how if one thing's out of balance, then it can throw everything out of balance for you.
Yes, love that. Well balanced, man. Well balanced. So if you were to offer, a newbie, I guess, somebody kind of starting out into kind of like, let's just were a few months ago, if they could make one simple change in their life that's really helped you, what would that be?
One simple change. You always think they're simple, but I would say starting with the nutrition, like a lot of that kind of builds on everything. So for me, it was implementing that Fab4 like mindset for meals. Like just make sure that you have that protein, that green, that fiber, and that healthy fat for every meal, because then you stay full longer. You have more energy, so that then you can go and start targeting those workout goals or what do you want to do. But more so just to baby step it. Like don't try to do it all at one time. So for me, like that was the most important and the biggest change for me, is like once I implemented like focusing on having 3 healthy meals a day that were balanced, that kind of just rolled into everything else of, oh, well, now I have more energy, so let me go start to work out and implement the 30 minutes a day, or let me do these stress relieving things.
Right. Okay, love that. Yeah. Again, so important balance, but to remember that it's a huge foundation. And when we focus on fitness and we neglect the other, or like you said, stress, it just adds into other, makes a whole havoc. So making sure to be in those is really important.
You're cutting out again.
Okay.
It like comes and goes in segments.
It's probably because I'm just sitting outside, but it's all fine. As long as I hear you, I care about you. And then last question, just to kind of wrap it up so you can get back to your day, is just kind of, if somebody is currently debating our program, again, they've done a bunch of diets, or they're just really, frustrated with not seeing results, or they can relate to some things, like, but they're kind of have the mindset of, oh, I can manage it myself, I can do this. What would you recommend to them to encourage them to dive deeper into something like this?
If you've been one of those people and you're back and forth and you're constantly trying the fad diets and you're failing and you're falling off, like, I'll say that accountability is a huge thing. Like for me, that was also super important, of having that small, intimate group of girls to go through this with and work through those transitions was huge. So since I've done the program, like I haven't gone out and been like, oh, let me go count my macros, or oh, let me go do like this other fad diet. Like I've just slowly learned to implement these things in a day-to-day basis. So if you're on the fence about it, like it was full of, great information that, yeah, you could probably go and Google it, but it's hard to decipher and pinpoint like what's important and what should be priorities on things. So having that accountability, having all of that put in a way that it's easy to like educate and you step us through it, like that was huge for me. So the program for me was 100% a success. Like even my husband was like, I really noticed that you started making these daily changes and things got better for you. And I just like, again, the accountability and going through that with that intimate group was something that really changed it and changed my mindset.
Yay, that makes me happy. And can you explain just a little bit about kind of like, is the after, as we try to have that we continue beyond the program?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like the fact that we're still in touch and we still like check in. And the other day we were like, hey, we're kind of burnt out on our food options and what we're eating. And like you had recommendations and you had resources and you provided resources for the follow-up after. And we're still in contact with the group that we went through this with, still encouraging one another, checking in. And again, that's still accountability. Like it's easy just to fall off. And if you're not going to put in the effort and like really do it, then you make your decisions. Like you're gonna get out of it what you put into it. And if it's what you truly want, then it's gonna be huge and beneficial, and you're gonna continue to have that support even after the 8-week program. So
Absolutely. And I think with the holidays approaching too, getting that foundation now, putting yourself in that good headspace so that you're able to truly enjoy the holiday and also learn how to nourish your body well so you can feel good and not fall off the bandwagon.
absolutely.
Well, I appreciate you chatting with me, Sam, and just sharing a little bit more about your story and kind of, what encouraged us. For those of you that are interested in joining, we're having our week, but then our next big one will be January, New Year. So if you're interested, let me know. You can also probably contact Sam if you have additional questions about her experience as
Absolutely.
the other graduates. But yeah, well, I appreciate it, Sam. Have a great day. It's literally starting to pour right now.
Good timing.
But I appreciate you, and I will see you soon.
All right. Thank you.
Bye, Sam. Thanks.
Bye.